Hey guys, it's Kiera, and in this lesson we're going to choose a typeface for our logo. Now the trick with typefaces is that the typeface has to work with and without the logo. And it's a very abstract meaning, but the typeface almost has to represent the company, right? And you don't always have to choose a typeface as default, right? You can go out, explore, purchase some typefaces, and even purchase a typeface and then modify it to the bit where it looks like it's your own and it fits the logo. And in many cases, if I worked for a very circular logo, I would just make my own font using circles and just build it off that. There's nothing too circular about our logo. It looks like a pin. There's nothing too much that I can relate to a font with it, but let's just go back to our creative brief and look it over. So this isn't a device where users can create something, so it shouldn't be very handmade. This doesn't have a rustic feel to it. A lot of their concepts and keywords were visualized in entire areas, so it has to be very modern. It doesn't have to be exactly very educational per se, even though the users are learning more about the area. There shouldn't be any serifs or anything that really showcases or makes it stereotypical that this is an educational website. In fact, this is more modern. It's data-driven, it's more professional, and it doesn't follow anything that's, again, very rustic feels. I don't think we should go all capital letters in this case. It's Ski World. We'll only have 2 capital letters. Or in this case, how do they specify it? Ski World. Yep, 2 capital letters. Notifications, informed decisions, discover amazing locations. And I don't think this logo should be very thin either, right? Or this typeface should be very thin either. Because we're going to be scaling it up and down. And I want this typeface to have some kind of weight to it. I want this font or the word Ski World to stand by its own and have a powerful meaning to it, a presence almost. So let's go one by one the sites I usually use, and maybe you can pick something up for yourself. So I usually start off with Google Fonts. These are free, and these are very easy to implement into a website. So if you're showing the client that you use, for example, Open Sans, they can just hook it up, their website to Google Fonts, and they don't have to implement a custom font. They can use Open Sans on their entire website. So that's a pretty big advantage. So we can go through here. Red Flare looks pretty cool, but it's a bit too fun for my tastes. Mist Enveloped looks pretty good. So we're going to download it. We got one family selected. To Natures, I think that's too condensed. And we're just going to go through it. Perhaps we'll find something that we like. Usually for these typefaces, there's different weights, and for this case it's styles, so we can just enlarge it, and we can make it bold. And this, for example, looks pretty good, so we can add it in as well. And we'll just see what type of design that we like. And even with an Illustrator, we can later make the tracking between the letters much larger. Same with the kerning, or if we want some kind of text effect on it with some kind of curve, we want to make it warped. But let's continue to look on. See, this is a bit more technical. Perhaps if the site was entirely data-driven and information was what they sell, maybe. But in this case, we're more user-friendly. These are for explorers, people who want to discover new places. This is more educational. Reminds me of Brie Serif. This is too old school for my tastes. And perhaps there's something more, otherwise we'll just move on. Handwritten fonts, I'm never really too sold on in these cases. And that's pretty much it. This is actually really cool as well. Let's see if there's any other weights to it. There aren't, and let's add it in anyways. So we have 3 families selected. And let's just download it. Alright, so it's gonna open up a zip. And there we go. So I'm gonna open up my font book. On Mac, it's called Font Book. On PC, it just should be My Fonts when you type it onto your computer, and you just drag these in. So we're going to open it up and install Balu Chetan. Let's go in here and let's type it out. Ski World. Scale it up. Let's make everything smaller, just so we can give it some more space. Ski World. Let's make this smaller again. Let's make the mark, and I think it started with a B. Balu Chetan. In this case, the logo doesn't fit the typeface in this case. The logo has too many curves, or the typeface has too many curves, and it looks too fun. Almost looks like Comic Sans, and I wouldn't approve. So, to the font book, we're going to go back, and we're going to try something else. So, Lazar. Let's add that in. LAL. Select everything. LAL. And this is looking already better. Almost looks like a construction site, but it could work in our favor. And while we're here, I'm going to go from painting to typography. That way we get more options that relate to what we're actually trying to do right now. I'm going to stretch this all the way out. Right? Perfect. So now let's take this text and let's see if we can modify it just a bit. So I'm just going to find these options for character. And what happens if we stretch it out just a bit? In this case, we're just modifying the tracking. We can scroll out. And see, that's a bit too much, so let's bring that back in. And whatever you do, never take your type and just start squishing it like this. It will never look good. In very, very rare scenarios will that actually look good. And you can always go to Object, Expand, and you can just start modifying the points individually. So we can take this point, and we can make all the edges like this, for example, right? And we can develop a unique style just by doing this. Have every single word end with this type of mark up top, right? So it's very easy to customize. You just need some kind of base typeface to start off with. But again, not too big of a fan of this. I'm just going to separate it a bit, but I think we'll keep it anyways. I do think it still looks like a construction company more than it does Ski World. So what else do we have installed? We also have installed Ubuntu. And let's go bold. And I quite actually like this. It works, it has a unique style, and we're gonna keep it. But how would it look? Medium, same as, regular, a bit weaker. But if we ever expand to create some kind of typefaces for the different names, or the different locations, or the different weather reports, we could actually almost just go from bold and scale all the way to light. It's a good design strategy, and we might implement it. But for now, just for the logo, we're gonna keep it at bold. And let's drag these to the left and see if there's something else out there. So that was Google Fonts. Lots of free stuff and a lot of great stuff. But there might be more. So there's another great website called Word Market. And you don't actually download fonts here, but it shows you the fonts that you already have installed with a demo word. So we can say Ski World, load fonts. And here we have every single typeface that's installed in our system, showing us how Ski World would look like. So this is also a great method just to find different fonts that we can use. So we have Archive, which looks very old school. Arial Black looks pretty good, but a bit nichey. And we can just see if we have anything else installed. Yeah, like handwritten fonts would just never work in this case. DDC, the aliens are coming, look pretty cool. But it has that handcrafted feel to it, so I can actually show you. Because we don't have it installed. DDC. The aliens are coming. Yeah, it just doesn't fit. But regardless, Drone Ranger looks pretty cool. And we can just continue to do this. Fat Frank. I actually like Fat Frank. Let's see how Fat Frank looks. Say Fat Frank 3 times fast. Fat Frank free. Ooh, this looks very bold. Not enough spacing here, so if we add a space... still kind of weak. You can see how Ski World here looks very uniform and very unified, even though these are 2 capital letters. But here this font belongs in a horror movie, right? You can kind of see where I'm getting from this. Like, add a blood trail, add a knife, you got a horror movie film sequence title. So, we need something else. We also have DaFont, and DaFont is great just because of the amount you can choose from. We can go to popular fonts, and we can see if there's anything here that we like. We have a Pokemon font here. Lemon Milk Black Sword looks really cool, but just not for something that we need. Sunday Morning, Caviar Dreams. Right, nothing fits here, so we can go back to DaFont, and we can just say sans serif. So it would be without the serifs. Sans meaning without. Digital looks pretty cool. 2 series for Ski World. Cool Vedica looks really good. So let's do Cool Vedica, regular. And it kind of needs tracking. So we're gonna add some tracking. Follow your gut on how much tracking it needs. And I kind of like that. Ski World. And we can continue to do this here. The bold font. Quartzeria looks pretty cool. Lancall, Couture. Canyon Coffee. Cobalt. Let's try Cobalt. For Cobalt, it would look better if all the letters were capital. So we can go into the typography here. Let's go into paragraph. The option is in here. Let's do character styles. Let's do show more options. And we can just bold the entire thing. Just click all caps and it'll automatically do it for you. This also applies to lowercase and subscript, but we need all uppercase. But again, this looks like a newspaper heading, and this process can go on, but it is important to find the right typeface. Too often, you might just get stuck and just choose, I don't know, Helvetic or Arial, but it's going to be reflected in your brand. And when you continue on and you start doing the style guides, you'll see how a smart typeface can really make your brand shine. Because without the logo, it'll still kind of reflect and push those same values. More options, there's also Behance. And Behance is where people post their portfolios. But it's also a great place to search for fonts because often designers just post their newest creation and sometimes they offer a free download. So we can just type in free font and see what comes up. So we have like Old Moon, this is a very great typeface. Kayak Sans, free typeface, right? And there's lots to explore here as well. And then you can also support the authors if you want to buy the full. We can type in font, see what we get. Lombok looks really cool. Now for Ski World though, but still a really cool typeface. Big John Slim, I think I already paid for that way back when. And yeah, with another option as well, there's Creative Market, where you can actually buy fonts. A bit more expensive on the side, but again, there's a lot of great gems in here. And you can often buy kits, and these are often on sale, so you can just buy a mega pack of 52 fonts. So, now that we know what we're looking for, let's start to narrow down our results. And I'm just going to stick with Google Fonts, just because there is a large selection, and all of it is free. So, in this case, we don't want any serifs. We don't want any display fonts, or yeah, perhaps we do. Let's go by popular and see what we can work with. Now, Montserrat would actually look pretty cool. So let's just bold it. And Ski World might look pretty good with that. Is there anywhere we can type in our font? No, there isn't. So let's just download it. But we may have already downloaded, or I may have already downloaded it. Let's go anywhere else. And let's see if we can just find another one for an A/B test, but this is pretty much the category where we're looking for. These are modern, easy to use, and very easy to implement into a website, which is a plus for the client. So nothing I see here, even though this would look pretty cool, but it's a bit too stretched out for my taste. Again, use your gut feeling, see what works, see what doesn't work. Let's see if there's anything in the featured section. We can even change the color of Google Fonts, which is pretty cool. High impact. Let's see what's in here. Oh, this is really cool. I love Laura, but it just doesn't fit our brand. Let's go back. Perhaps there's something else we can try out. Oh, these are really cool as well. Lalzar. I believe we already tried that. But I think Lolizar might actually work in this case. The more I think about it and sit on the idea, I kind of like it more and more. We still have Monster that we can try, and let's try perfect pairings. We actually looked at that section. Let's look here. Space Mono looks pretty cool. But yeah, aside from that, let's see if we can go back to directory. Let's go back into trending. We want more styles, so I'm gonna check this on. Let's do at least 6+ English, and we don't want handwriting. Thickness. Let's see what we get. Alright, so thickness is pretty important in this case, so we'll keep it at that. And let's go through one more time. So railway, really beautiful. Let's add that in. And anything else, just for A, B, C tests at this point. EXO looks really cool, very techno. And that's pretty much it. I can pretty much browse fonts for the rest of my life. There's just so many great options. Assistant looks good too. So, Assistant. And let's drag in our fonts. So, in this case, Assistant. And let's add that all in. Let's do Montserrat. But I actually think we already have it installed, because I've used it in previous projects before. It's quite a common font. Let's install Railway, and let's quickly test it out. So, Railway. How is that gonna look? Railway, let's try extra bold. And this looks really cool, especially this W. This might actually work really well for the logo. And we also installed, what was the font's name? Assistant. Assistant. That's kind of weak. Extra bold. I don't feel it has enough power almost. I feel something that would be very nice to read as paragraph text, but not enough for an actual logo. And let's try Montserrat. Let's do bold. Yeah, and that looks already way better. But because we're having this consistent problem of the entire text being too bold, let's actually try to make the world part less impactful. So let's try semi-bold. A bit better. And let's try regular. And that already looks much better. Let's make the icon a bit smaller. Or let's just Command C, go to our new artboard, let's zoom out. And let's paste it in. Because I think this is going to be the winner. It feels like the winner. I think I've used Montserrat so many times before that I'm just really accustomed to it. But it also serves a purpose. So let's group this with Command G. Select both. The Align panel isn't up here, so Window, Align. Let's align them. We have to make this larger now. And there we go, Ski World. Very powerful mark, stands out. And we can even try reversing the order here. So we have Montserrat regular followed up with bold. Let's just reverse it. So bold and then here regular. And that also looks pretty good. But again, we kind of off-centered it. So again, align it. And I would consider that a finished product. It's easy to read. There's a bold part on the world, so it's kind of hinting at the whole data-driven aspect, because we are collecting data from all around the world. Even though it's not direct to the user, it is fairly prominent in my eyes. And yeah, except for the only thing, we should be using the exact same color here. So let's make sure we match it there. And I'd call this a finished product. It looks pretty good. We could put the text up here, but then we have to make the icon smaller and it doesn't pop out as much. So before we start moving into the style guide, I'm just going to keep the layout like this. So in the next lesson, you should be given homework, and then we'll proceed with talking about some more logo guidelines, just to review and recap. And then we'll move on to the style guides and the presentation to actually sell your ideas to the client. So I'll see you in the next lesson.